Hey everybody.
Welcome. Oh yeah, you do have a new hat. That's a different and better hat.
Yeah.
All right, so Keith Courage. It's been a pretty busy week actually.
Yeah.
You got in on the race, right?
I ran one. You were there for the one day I did it. It's
Yeah.
been uh quite a week actually. We crushed this game.
Yeah. So we went in on the first show with a what we thought to be world record of a 34 something. But it turns out that the world record was actually slightly improved from that. That's sort of the risk you run when you depend on speedrun.com for information. It was a 33-minute time was the actual world record. Cyphern had it. But I think there was just a lot of... Everyone was very excited for this project, so we ended up getting a lot of people working really hard. I did some work trying to figure out some stats so that we had some of the actual numbers for the game. Whole bunch of people actually did some serious routing, some serious work on it, and now it's already sub 20 minutes, which is pretty wild considering what the task was.
Yeah, I'm trying to start. We are hosting a race, so I'm trying to set that up real quick. But we definitely knocked 50% off the time on that already, just in 1 week. You still have 6 days. There's actually a pretty good time up there now. It's not impossible to beat. It's not some unbreakable thing. Sub 20. I knew it was possible when I set it at 23 minutes, and it still can be beaten a little faster, I think.
This game definitely has a lot of RNG in it, and some people have done some work to figure out just how crazy the RNG is. So at this point, beating the existing world record is going to take a really clean run, and maybe a little bit of good fortune. But you know, like you said, it's not over yet.
Let's see if one of the folks who knows my bot in Discord can get that started. Well, we can just use countdown.
Sure. Are they already set up to stream the game?
Let me see who's playing.
Yeah, we've definitely got Finn joining us. Finn having the world record right now, so...
Yeah, let's roll to that, actually. So we're just going to be taking 4 or so players and seeing how they do. Finn's the person to beat. I think one of the things I'm going to announce right now, folks, is... and maybe even for this game also, I'm just going to start giving second and third place prizes. So I'm still, this time, going to offer $100 to first place. Probably in the future will be 50, 20, 10, something like that. So $20 for second place right now, and third will get 10. If you want to win one of those, that'll maybe make it a little easier for you to win something out of this. In exchange for playing Keith Courage for a while.
Yeah, that's the only trade-off, is that you have to play Keith Courage to redeem this. So
yeah. Trying to figure out who is playing and what screens. I know Finn's there, so let's roll to that. We got our next game picked out already, and we're ready to do that next week. So, if this one's not your bag, prepare to jump in on the next one. Should we spoil the system that it's on? I don't think we should.
yeah, that's entirely up to you. We've already, by the way, been talking a little bit about mixing up the genres as well. I know that we received some good feedback last week, some people talking about maybe not just sticking to platformers, which I think is a really great idea and really good feedback. So I've already got one puzzle game in mind that maybe we might be looking at, but if you have recommendations, especially ones that are a mix of genres, that'd be really helpful for us, because the speedrun community does have a understandable bias in favor of platformers, but we would like to try to make sure that people who want to participate in the process can still find a game that catches their interest.
I know what I need to do here. The player names are messed up. Let me fix that, and I think I've got it otherwise.
Yeah, so we did a little bit of work. I wouldn't say disassembling, but did do some research on this game. I think one of the interesting things that has come from this is, even if at the end of the day there's going to be someone who comes out with the top prize, I think it is really interesting the amount of information we learn about games when this much attention is brought to them. So we did a lot of research. We figured out exactly how this game works when it comes to things like calculating damage based on what sword you collect, what's the best way to farm money, even little tricks that weren't known about in advance or maybe were only known through the tasks. So I've definitely seen some videos of some work that some of the players have figured out, things like being able to walk across spikes without instantly dying, or even we figured out how to freeze the final boss, which was, I think, one of the biggest discoveries that came from this.
I think I set a really good first day. I demotivated some people with how good my time was. It was really good. It really came together, and I think I told people just to copy the strategy I had, because knowing what sword to buy and stuff, it just felt correct. It just felt really good, and it seems like the world record run is similar. Mine wasn't optimized. I died in mine, and I still had 20-something minutes, 23 minutes.
Yeah, you ended up getting a 23-minute time on your first run with some pretty conservative strats, which I think seeing that big of a jump right out the gate did demotivate some people, but I think it also pushed the game to where it is now, because I don't know if on day one of attempts, if you hadn't demonstrated just how much room for improvement there was, I don't know if we would have even seen sub 20 by now.
Well, there's still room for competition, folks. You still have it. I think you could still save 2 minutes on this. I think 18 minutes is about perfect. I don't really feel like there's RNG once you get it down to, well, you should definitely watch Finn's run. There's some clipping and stuff in this. And we might see some of that here when this race starts. I'm waiting for one more player here. I need to know who it's going to be. One of the problems I have with using capture the way we're doing it is I can't mess with Discord. That's why I keep using my phone. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, that's, I guess you could open up the browser version of Discord as well on the computer if you need to use it that way.
That's a good idea.
He's capturing he's capturing my webcam through Discord, so he's a little bit locked in at the moment.
Yeah. We do have 4 or 5 players. I just need a 4th one to grab, and I wonder if I have audio feed.
I think this game turned out to be a really interesting first choice. It's surprisingly non-linear. The main levels themselves are pretty linear, but the choices you can make are non-linear. And I think this game is really, it's kind of in a sweet spot for speedrunning, where you can do a pretty impressive speedrun by just forcing your way past enemies without really worrying about them a whole lot, and the game actually kind of lets you get away with that, because most enemies don't do enough damage to really be a huge hassle.
People keep saying I have Extreme Zero. I'm confused. I think we're ready. I don't know how long this will take. It could be 20 minutes. It depends on how other people have learned this. I know Finn will be done pretty fast. At this point, I think even I could go to HDQ and beat this in 30 minutes, guaranteed. I haven't done that, and it only took me 4 runs to get to that point. Like, I'm pretty good at video games, I guess. I came into this one blind though, and it only took me 3 or 4 runs to knock my time from 70 minutes to 10 below the world record at the time.
We have some events in the speedrunning community that are often designed to show off how easy it really is to learn to speedrun a game. I mean, most people out there don't really speedrun a big variety of things. You just learn to speedrun a game that you care about, and it's so easy to just get in on one game, especially one that is as wide open as this was. Cyphren put together a pretty good run that showed off how the game works, but there was still a lot of opportunity for improvement available. So I think this is a good, if you've ever kind of watched speedrunning and you think it's kind of seems cool, but it's outside of my reach, you should get involved with one of these games if you see one that interests you, because it turns out you might be surprised how remarkably easy it is to speedrun a game. It's really just playing a game with a timer running at the same time.
Yeah. Everything looks good, right?
I'm seeing people. The cropping may be a little off on Extreme Zero, but otherwise I think it looks good.
Yeah, let me fix that. It's a little hard to
crop on the black screen.
Yeah, because everyone's got a different thing. I think we're gonna go ahead.
Just wait for the game to start, and then you'll be able to do it for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell them to go ahead. Let's get that start down. They're starting. I'm starting my clock too. That's one thing I don't have on screen. I didn't think about that. Let me get that on there too after I fix this coffee. Looks good. Everyone's radically different screens going on. Well, you want to talk about this game in case anyone hasn't seen it while I get that clock up there?
Yeah, so this is Keith Courage in Alpha Zones, and it's broken down into 7 stages. There is a stage where you play as Keith, who runs around. He can collect coins and talk to NPCs to buy equipment, whether it be sword upgrades or magic upgrades, things like that. And then every time you beat one of Keith's levels, you go into a level where you play in a mech. It's basically just a Gundam. And you're looking for a boss room. The level ends when you kill a boss. This is the area where you can actually find health upgrades. So when you kill the larger enemies, they drop hearts, and those hearts might either just heal 1 heart, or they might give you a full health upgrade, which increases your max HP by 1, up to a maximum of 8 hearts. And so we're going to probably see very little grinding from most of these players. You would grind, if you're playing casually, potentially for either upgrades to your projectiles, which are the magic, or upgrades to your maximum health, because it's not too hard to just grind out enemies until you get enough health upgrades to have full health. But these players are going to be going pretty fast. The upgrades that you'll see primarily happening are, you may see some players pick up ammunition for the projectiles that you have when you're in the mech form, and you'll see occasional upgrades to their sword. Upgrades on the even levels change the strength of the sword, and the upgrades on the odd numbered levels change the length of the sword or the range of the sword. And so optimally, the players will not grind enough money to be able to buy every single sword, but they'll upgrade their sword at strategic points, mostly to help with the amount of damage that they do.
I'm grabbing audio from Finn's feed here.
Okay.
So we have this beautiful music and all this great sound design, the explosion of every enemy.
So you can see Finn right here grinding money. So what is Finn grinding for right now? I haven't seen the 20-minute run, so I don't know what's being collected right now. Is it the sword upgrade in level 2?
I think it's interesting that he's grinding here. I don't really know why. He's already missed this. There is a sword upgrade at the end of this. It's only 300 though, so it seems like he grabbed extra money.
He might have been doing it to get projectiles as well.
Yeah, he's getting some bombs, so that explains that. That's exactly how much you need. So sword upgrade and throwable weapons purchased. Gotcha. There must be a reason why he wants those.
Yeah, he's getting them pretty early too. Everyone else seems to have pushed on into the second half of level 2. which is fine. You know, I was envisioning that the optimal route would probably skip most of the sword upgrades until you get to level 4. But as the world record holder, I trust his judgment. Either he's doing it to play it safe, or this is actually the fastest strat.
Yeah, there might be. I mean, I don't know that it's optimized though. I wouldn't be surprised if people can find a better way still to do things.
Yeah, you can see the huge difference it made for him to grind the amount of money that he did. So, in order for this to be faster, it would really have to pay off long term. It would have to make a pronounced difference much later, which I don't see it doing. That's why I had kind of envisioned that you would not upgrade your sword until level 4, because then you do it takes about half as many hits to kill most of the bosses. So yeah, that was a remarkably better fight on the second boss.
It'll be interesting to see how much time he lost on that.
We can already see Extreme Zero doing... this was Cypherin's grind spot, so grinding for money right here in level 3 is actually a really good grind spot because the cats spawn at your level, which means you can kill them very quickly while you sort of just move around a little bit. Again, I question whether or not this is where you want to do the grinding, or is he just grinding here and then taking that money into the next level?
There's a sword upgrade around here. I think this one's just range though, right? So it's a weird thing, but half the upgrades are just range, and this one's just range.
Yeah, so I did a little bit of data mining, and I didn't test every single boss, but it seems like so the bosses react uniquely to different swords. It's not like the sword just does twice as much damage or something like that. Every boss just has sort of a lookup table for how it decides what to do. And it seems like for every boss I tested, the even-numbered swords increase the damage, and the odd-numbered swords increase the range, and none of them do both.
Well, Sword 3 would give you range and the damage of Sword 2.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, strictly speaking, from the previous one, you don't get an upgrade to both.
Neither
but the
one
level
gives
3
you...
sword is its own sword. It's not just like a range upgrade to your sword or a strength upgrade to your sword.
I think the only my strat that I developed, and certainly is not unbreakable or anything. It's just what I thought from what I got out of 3 playthroughs, is that you only need Sword 4. The rest are garbage. You could just skip them all. That was what I was up to, and I had no use for orbs at all, except for one boss. That I really feel like if somebody could find a way to do that boss, to break his AI, they would really smash the time. He's the only headache. He's boss 6.
Yeah, he has a pattern, but it's really aggressive. So you'd have to go in there with a plan that he would abide by, which is the hard part. I definitely don't blame anyone, and we probably will see some of the players here going in there with projectiles just because it not quite trivializes the boss, but it makes it much more consistent.
I've been messing with this layout. Part of why I wasn't completely ready today, but I think it's there. I shrunk the bar. Hopefully it looks a little better. We got some more space.
Looks like we got a game over from Extreme Zero. Now, fortunately, game overs in this game let you continue from the level that you're already on. The only thing that happens is you lose half of your money and half of your orbs, and you start with 3 hearts. You maintain your max health, but you start with 3 hearts again. So we may even see the occasional strategic death. You know, someone who's playing it really quick might take a lot of damage on a boss and might decide to get a health increase by killing themselves, especially if they've already done all of their purchasing.
Yeah, I should have done a tweet. I just didn't. I'm gonna do that now.
So when I played casually, this was my grinding spot, the one that Patty Bees is in right now. It's definitely slower in the sense that you have to wait for the cats to come down. But if I'm not mistaken, this was the level where the probability of them dropping money seemed much higher. This game's really strange in the sense that everything is very unique on sort of a stage-to-stage, boss-to-boss, weapon-to-weapon basis. Like the amount of damage that a sword does is not like a strict upgrade, so to speak, but each boss says, you know, in their logic, they say, I will take 12 hits from this sword, or 16 hits from this sword, or 20 hits from this sword. And it's completely unique. It doesn't follow any set pattern necessarily. And so, sort of following in line with that, it seems like the probability that the enemies drop money is different on a stage-to-stage basis as well. So that's why me and Smight had theorized that level 4 would be where most people would probably want to do their grinding. You gotta wait a little longer for the cats, but they drop, like you can see on Patty B's screen right now, they drop money so much more frequently. Pretty much every kill is 1 or 2 coins.
I think this game is very strange, and that's incredibly weird and unique. I don't think that I've seen that kind of randomness before, but it absolutely seems to be true. There are enemies that seem to drop hearts more often, and there's stages that just litter coins versus none at all, ever. Like, stage 8 just does not give you money, and I don't know why. It doesn't seem like something that would choose that. That doesn't make any sense. But it seems like...
Smight was even convinced that there were certain, like, enemies that spawned in particular locations in some stages that were more likely to drop upgrades, which is, I mean, from a game design perspective, I can't even imagine how you'd land there, but
that's how it feels.
Yeah.
I would consistently get not just the heart, but the full heart. There's 2 types of heart containers. There's one that gives you a full heal and an upgrade to your heart, and there's another that gives you just a single heart. And I was consistently getting the better of those 2 off of a couple of enemies near the end. Flaming Rock currently in the lead, just a little bit ahead, with some heart upgrade. Just 1.
Now this level's really dangerous. I mean, it's ice physics everywhere, and then all these spikes are 1-hit kills. Like, if you touch any of the spikes, and the enemies spawn in such a way or are located in such a way that they're designed to knock you in.
Yeah, there's an enemy who falls from the sky near the end of this that knocks me into spikes. I hate him.
Now, Finn is right on the heels of Flaming Rock, so, you know, I haven't been looking really closely at them compared to one another, but, you know, Finn set himself back just a little bit initially with that grinding to get the better sword, and I wonder whether or not it paid off in the sense of that's why he was able to catch up so quickly.
It looks like Finn took a death, or did they just use orbs? I guess they just used orbs. They have the weird number there. Flaming Rock, I think, has the same equipment. Finn took a death there. It's very
Finn
dangerous.
definitely used orbs against the second boss.
The knockback is not your friend in this game. It's super dangerous. You can use it to clip through a wall, is what I understood, and there was one good place we found to do that, where you can fall through this top of the stage. You almost always are heading downwards to get to the boss in the stage arena. That's right there where Flaming Rock is where the dude comes out of the sky. I hate that part. Anyway, you're almost always heading down, which means if you can find a way to fall through the floor, you're probably going the right way, and we've been looking for that kind of clip. Looking for really hardcore speedrun stuff to speed up stuff even more, because the main game at this point, I think we've got a strategy. The only thing that would change it is if we can get through walls somehow, if we can skip bosses, anything like that. We can actually skip one of the bosses. Did we talk about that yet? The really good skip?
Are you talking about freezing one of the bosses?
Yeah. Hardest boss in the game can be stopped. He could just be frozen in time.
Yeah, the final boss was a huge headache for people who were trying to figure this game out, as well as the old world record by Cyphrin played it really well, really expertly, but it required a lot of sort of baiting out attacks and waiting. It was a very slow experience, despite how well Cyphrin did at it. And now they just freeze the boss and wail on him.
Yeah, it rules. That boss... I mean, I'm kind of on the fence about whether I like that kind of thing as a player, because I definitely have a good time learning that hard boss and beating him consistently. And then all that strategy is worthless, because that dude doesn't even move. You just get a free win on him now. And, I mean, that's the thing to do. You save, like, a full minute. No matter how good you are at him, you save a full minute on that guy. He takes forever to kill correctly. I did learn him because I had learned him the hard way, and he's not easy. He shoots a little raptor at you that goes across the floor, and jumping over it is extremely hard. It's 2 against 1, a boss fight, really, is what it is.
It's a really frustrating boss fight. I mean, it's just, it forces you to really slow down and take your time, which is not what you want when you're right at the end of the run trying to optimize this game.
Yeah. So the way it is now, if you can just get to World 7, you've got it. The World 7's pretty easy. It's got a couple of tricks on it, but it's nowhere near as bad as World 6. And since the boss is free, if you can get there with 1 health, you've got the game beaten. So that's a nice strategy.
So Flaming Rock's currently wrapping up World 5 right now.
He might die here. He's got 1 hit left.
This is the double boss fight. Oh, that's rough.
It's a bad time to die. Finn died at the same time, though, so they're both in the same place now. Flaming Rock had a big lead thrown away there with that death.
So someone was asking about the former world record holder. Cypherin has actually been really supportive of this whole thing. I think he's been very excited to see what's happened to this game. I think he originally speedran it because he wanted other people to see how cool this game was, and I'd say this pretty much achieved that goal.
Yeah, I'm looking for that. I mean, I don't feel like most runners will be offended when their run gets competition.
Oh, absolutely not.
I feel like most people will enjoy it.
There's this. It's a fairly common thing in the speedrun community as well for retro games. That sometimes if there's not a speedrun, you know, even if you're not trying to do the best speedrun, you just kind of put something together to show people, hey, this game could be a cool speedrun. And I think that was a lot of what Cypherin was doing. I mean, he played really well, but ultimately I think the point was to demonstrate that this game was hurting for a speedrun. And so I'm happy that this has mostly achieved that aim.
I think a lot of people look like they're getting really good at it based on what I'm seeing right here. Just 4 demonstrations of this game getting conquered. There are some deaths here. I think stages 5 and 6 are where this game gets particularly mean. Stage 5's world and stage 6's boss are nasty as heck. I do not like stage 5, and I absolutely do not like stage 6's boss. There are ways, there's one way that Cypherin did in his original run to cheat on stage 6 boss. So what you can do is, finally those sub-weapons come in handy. You sneak onto the screen to where he's just barely off screen. I took a picture of this and put it on the website, speedbump.run. If you go there, you'll see that in one of the posts here. I'll show you exactly where to stand. Basically, you get him on screen just enough. He won't move, and you can wail on him with the orbs, and he'll die to those instead of ever fighting him, and that makes it a boss that is handled instead of a really tough guy who just has a bunch of attacks.
Yeah, that boss fight is really frustrating because the boss throws projectiles that you either have to clean up or take damage from, and then at the same time he just charges at you. So keeping him off screen means he doesn't charge at you, even though he does throw out the little projectile heads.
I'm gonna make my UI here a little better while I watch this.
Flaming Rock expressing his frustration with stage 5, but is now moving into stage 6. Meanwhile, Finn is nearing the end of stage 6, but oh no, the platforms tricked him, like always.
There we go. My screen is a little cluttered. We got a lot going on this screen, though, so I'm gonna let it roll that way. Can't do too much about it.
I'm playing it fast and loose right now.
There's 2 timers on screen. One is your global timer to beat this thing. 6 days, 1 hour, and 52 minutes. That's Saturday at midnight Eastern. To get on the board.
Don't feel like watching these people do well or pretty well at this game, and the world record being sub 20 now, don't think that it's out of contention yet. I think that any one of these runners could still produce a run that's at least a minute better, and it's not too late if you're interested in participating in this. If you heard about the show last week, if you thought about it last week but didn't get time to get around to it, if you didn't think about it at all and you're hearing about it for the first time now, you absolutely still have time. It took Smight 4 runs to put up a time that was only a few minutes off of what is now the current world record, so you can do it as well, especially with the massive knowledge base that we have available now.
Absolutely, you have access to some really good runs now. There's 3 on the board, and between the 3 of them on speedrun.com, aside from the other ones that exist on Twitch, just those 3 teach you every single trick that we know about, I think.
Yeah, the Speed Bump channel on Smite's Discord as well. Don't forget discord.gg/Smite. The Speed Bump room is just people who are mostly either interested in this game or have been running this game, and all of the knowledge that we've collected so far has been posted there. To my knowledge, no one has been hiding any strats. People have been pretty excited about sharing what we learn along the way and putting it in runs. So you already have a huge advantage over those who started last week. You have the advantage of not having to start from scratch. You just get to jump right in at the level it's at now.
Okay, I'm done with UIs. I
guarantee if this interests you, you could produce a mid-20 run with all that we know now. A decent completed run with all the information we have available now is probably, a 25-minute run.
Knowing which sword to buy and knowing that you can just instantly, it's not even hard, disabling the final boss. Those 2 things are going to knock your time from...
We'll point it out when we see it. It is not even a challenge to make the final boss freeze in place.
It's one of those glitches, sometimes I'm worried I'm going to have to do some ridiculous input or frame perfect crap. Well, this one is, somebody told me how to do it mid-run, and I pulled it off when I got there instantly, and I'm like, oh, okay. I saw somebody else running this game, and they also had a good laugh at how free that is. How anticlimactic this final battle becomes, because we all know how to break this thing now.
So Flaming Rock right now is in the lead. Is this the 6th or 7th level? I think it's 6, right?
The 7th one has conveyor belts, and I don't see those.
Right. Yeah, we're not on the 7th level yet. So we're on the 6th level. This is the one that most of our runners, unless there's some strategy that I haven't seen yet, most of the runners are going to be making sure they go into this level with the projectiles. And runners who die consistently over and over on this stage are going to suffer for it, because they're going to walk into the boss without as many projectiles.
Oh, there's the 5. I think that's actually a good one here.
Yes, the 5 one shoots 5 shots in front of you.
Yeah, he's doing it.
They sort of do this star pattern. So you see he's just barely off screen. He has activated, so he's taking damage, but he won't walk around until you move him a little more on screen.
Oh, it's going to be close. I think he almost had him. It just takes a lot of power. Finn's coming in here with 67.
Yeah, he ran out of orbs, and basically he had to just deal with that. Now, Finn could go back, or sorry, Flaming Rock could go back a level. It's possible to go into the previous level and go buy more orbs. He would have to farm some money, and at this point, farming is very difficult, but he could do it.
Flaming Rock is in a position where they have a ton of hearts, so if they just get 1 full health on the way there, they can tank this boss. That's the problem, really, is that you have 2 options. Either you beat him with orbs, or you fight him fair and you just take 6 hearts of damage, probably, wailing on him.
You may have noticed Finn has not gotten a single heart upgrade yet. He has not been farming for them, but he just hasn't gotten one as well.
He's okay, because he's going to have enough orbs to do this, if he can get there. There's one.
Finally, his first health upgrade, though.
It's going to take forever, but 67 single shots will defeat this boss, too. As long as he doesn't get knocked forward, that head will knock him forward and trigger the boss to activate and go after him. So he's dodging the head. The head does, I feel like it does 1/4 of a heart of damage. Not as much as the boss. The boss is active, so now the battle begins in earnest here.
And he's going in here with way less health than any of the other runners would have at this point. So
I think that counts. He got lucky.
It does count as him moving forward, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you have to blow up after the boss.
Yeah.
Because I died like that and it didn't count. And I think it was because I truly was killed at the same time. Been extremely lucky moving forward. The game heals you, is what happens after the boss dies, so it technically sees him as having a heart, is what's gone on.
Yeah, it gives you a small amount of health. Again, we did a lot of tech for this game to figure out exactly how it works. The hearts are not sort of discrete units. A heart represents 32 hit points. And so each enemy does a different amount of damage. Some of these enemies will do, something like 8 points. The really small enemies that you encounter in like these levels are only two hit points, so it's a real issue. Flaming Rock is having concerns about the viability of continuing. He certainly could go back a stage, but
I mean, I think the thing to do is to collect health, and just with 8 you can definitely just do it. Like, you can just sit on top of them and swing and win. It will work. I mean, that was the initial strategy, was 6 hearts devoted to that will win. You do have to get down there with full health though, and that's tough. This stage is nasty. You can try and get it in front of the boss. They just don't seem to drop it as much. This is what I mean by sometimes they just don't drop the same rate. I feel like the start guys drop it very often, and at the end of the stage, you just don't get that kind of power back. You just don't get hearts from them. It just doesn't feel good to farm those guys. They're also harder to kill.
Oh.
Well, Finn's working on World 7, which is a long walk to an easy stage. The overworld here is pretty long. Keith walks so slow. And that, actually, Patty's on 7 as well.
Yeah, Patty's on 7 as well, I was gonna say.
Didn't notice.
A lot of little things I think that some of our runners haven't noticed. Little pieces of tech that I sort of discovered when I was investigating this game a little bit. Things like this game allows you to buffer jumps. If you just hold the jump button, the next time you land, you'll jump instantly, which helps a lot on the conveyor belts.
I think it's interesting how much people are using the nurse. I feel like that's not a thing that should be involved.
No, I think the expectation is probably rather than using the nurse, because that takes grinding and talking to an NPC. Optimally, you'd probably be expecting to get lucky on the health drops.
Yeah.
Rock's having a pretty good run on this boss right now.
There it is.
There you go.
Okay. Right there, I feel like so he did that without orbs, right?
Yeah, he did it with it took him about 4 hearts to do it, solely single-mindedly focused on attacking the boss. So I guess that's definitive proof that it can be done.
It is faster than using orbs. The orbs don't seem very good. We use them because we just can't control that boss, not because they're the fastest method. They're the safest way to win. So if you could figure out a way to destroy that boss with the sword, I think you'd have a faster run. I just don't know.
Patty B's had a little bit of a rough start to this race, but it's really looking like Patty B's is well poised to win this. Patty B's has a pretty decent lead on Finn, just working his way through this stage.
There are death traps in this stage, but it is relatively easy compared to what we've seen so far. Like that thing he just killed that knocks.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That enemy knocks you into spikes. That's like the last big trap in this, and then it's pretty smooth after this. There's not really anything else.
Finn's been definitely taking a lot safer. Patty B's has just been tanking this stage. Patty B's is showing off how good you can be at the platforming in this game.
Here's the
trick. You can see Patty B's jumps over the gap, and jumping over the gap actually freezes this boss in place for whatever reason. He just stands there. They both entered the boss about the same time.
Patty B's wins by 3 sword swings. I think that's it. Let's see the Discord.
Just a hair.
Nice work. Where's Extreme at here? This is boss 1? Is that where they're at? Did they restart?
Extreme? I think they did restart.
I wonder why. Are they going for a single run of good time?
I don't know. This is actually an interesting idea. Maybe we should change our format to you get an hour to put together the best run you can in that time.
Well, I think Patty's got it. Never typed done in the Discord. No. So I don't know what
the Discord bot. The Discord bot does not believe that Patty wins, but we saw it happen.
That's right. Assuming they started at exactly the same time, which I imagine they did because I did have a bot countdown. Roughly.
Yeah, I think the only person who didn't start synced with everyone else on our screen was Rock.
Accidentally restarting, that sucks. I do feel like this game in particular, there's no reason to restart in a race setting, not a speedrun setting, but in a race setting, because you only get stronger. You might lose all your orbs and stuff. You can just go back and you just keep getting art upgrades, and you can go back and get anything else you need.
Yeah, unlike a lot of games, this game does not produce unwinnable states. You can always go back to previous levels, even in as much as Keith can actually walk all the way back to level 1. If you find yourself needing to buy the sword there or something like that, you can walk all the way back to level 1 if you needed to.
Well, who's your favorite NPC?
Probably the wise old man. Oh no, the wise wizard's the one who sells the orbs, right? I'm thinking of the prophet,
No.
the one who just tells you weird lore.
I wasn't paying attention. I never really looked at their portraits at all, and I didn't recognize those as two different characters for forever. I just didn't notice that they weren't the same person. The wizard,
old man, and equally as old man.
the wizard and the prophet. Well, the prophet's helping you out, and the wizard's ripping you off. That's what's going on. I guess they're not ripping you off. I don't know how expensive bombs are. Give you 50 for $1 sometimes. It seems like a good deal.
Yeah, this game's so strange in the way that every level is so, like, drastically unique. Like, the number of bombs you get and the amount they cost in each stage is different. So, you know, you might pay 40 for, or sorry, you might pay 200 for 40 in one level, but then you might pay 300 for 30 in another level.
Nurse Nancy's ripping you off, yeah.
And it's not, there's not like a system. Like, it's not like it just becomes more expensive as you go along. It just feels arbitrary.
Yeah, this game is very confusing. We were trying to, I think it's harder than usual to gather data in this game, so it took us a little longer. It took us 2 days to really learn everything there is about this game. I feel like I should stress again that we've only been at this for a week. And we have completely mastered this game. So, you know, we are going to have 3 weeks in the future for runs, not 2. And I feel like in that time frame, we're really going to learn a lot about whatever the game is.
I mean, if you're focusing on just one game, 3 weeks is actually a pretty decent amount of time, provided that the game's not, you know, provided you're not looking for Super Mario 64 levels of optimization. You know, learning what there is to learn about these retro games and putting together a run that has all of the strats we're expecting. It doesn't take a long time to do that, so if you're interested in being part of that process, you know, even if you don't want to do the runs yourself, if you just find learning about games and strategizing and glitch hunting and things like that, you know, we'd love to have you join us as well. Everyone's welcome to go through that process. I mean, I never put together a run of this, ever, but I have a Google Doc filled with information, notes I took. I produced a full RAM watch list for people who are playing in an emulator, so you could modify values and test things. I mean, it takes all types of people in order to make a speedrun really good, so.
Yep, and we are going to give out second and third place prizes. That's definitely a thing. I'm eventually going to, since I don't think I should put forth $140 a month, lower the first place prize a little bit, but we are going to do that, and I'm doing it with this game too, so if you want on the board, if you manage to get third place, we'll include you in the prize. Starting now, we'll start with this game. No reason to hold off on that. So jump on in. And yeah, I feel like deaths in this game are very nasty, and we saw Flaming Rock take the worst one with the boss almost dead in stage 5, 6. Stage 6, the Minotaur boss.
The fact that Flaming Rock was able to finish with the situation that he encountered with, you know, everyone sort of plans to go into the boss of stage 6 with orbs. Beating that boss, you know, without any orbs, I mean, that's still pretty impressive.
Yeah, race is wrapped up. I'm telling them Hattie won, I think. Pretty sure. Okay. What'd you think of those runs?
I thought it was really good. I thought it was interesting that I was wondering whether or not this was one of those games where the time got so good because people got really consistent at it, or if they just grinded out for a really good run. And I don't think that one option is better than another, but I think this game is so temperamental that it looks like it was probably grinding out for a really good run, because everyone seemed to struggle in different spots, and no one seemed to just not struggle at all.
I'd like to point out that of the people I saw finish, there were 3 people who finished. Extreme Zero accidentally restarted, got screwed. The 3 people who finished all beat the world record from last week.
Yep.
Like, we all had it there. It was all under 30 minutes. So they didn't just beat it, they beat it by 5 minutes. Just there. We just saw in a free race where a bunch of deaths happened. So this was definitely a good game to pick. We definitely landed on one with a lot of improvement. Viable. We've already got.
Yeah, we went through a lot of options. I'm glad we landed on one that was. It seems like it was a hit. It seems like everyone's been enjoying working on it. The speed bump chat on your Discord has been active. It has been very active for the past week. Everyone's excited to show off what they've learned, what runs they've done.
I think there's 8 people at least that I can think of who can compete for that 20s time in there. That's just really good. Like, that's a really good time to have already, and it didn't take any time at all. And I think our next one, I think we've already decided what it is. I'm looking forward to it too. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. So the format for this show, as you all know, you saw our show last week, doing basically showing off the game and talking a little bit about it. I played through it a little bit, just so you can see what it was about. This is sort of what our in-between weeks are going to look like, doing a race or races, depending on the length of the game, so that we can see how progress has been going. And in this case, next week is going to be the last week for this game. And so next week's show is primarily just going to be centered around taking the world record run at that point and dissecting it, figuring out what we learned, figuring out what actually went into that run, talking a little bit about what was discovered, and showing it off, showing off the hard work of our first place runner.
Yeah, we're not going to be announcing our game next week. That's right. We're going to wait until December 1st. That's when you're going to find out what our next game is.
Yep, coming up soon. So you'll have to sit on your hands for a whole week waiting to find out what the next game is. But I think it'll be a good one. Keep in mind, though, we did say last week that we have a lot of games we've already kind of looked at and thought about, and that's true. But if you want to suggest some games from more genres, keep in mind what we're actually looking for. We're looking for games that are speedrunnable, have not seen a lot of attention, and would be fun for people to play. So we would still take some recommendations if you have some ones from some unconventional genres, because I think we did look a little platform heavy, again, as is typical for speedrunning.
Yep, that's my fault. I definitely like my platformers.
Everyone loves platformers, but if you'd like to see more stuff happen, I have one game that I'm going to throw into the mix that is not a platformer, but other than that, we're depending on y'all to give us some good recommendations.
Yeah, I feel like, well, there is a forum on Discord. You can get on there and find that, and if you want to submit, that's where you do it. I feel like as long as there's not a bunch of different records on there, just give the world record a watch and see what it looks like, and if it doesn't look like it's perfect, then send it in and we'll decide on it maybe. That's really... They
have to be emulator games. Console games are easy because they can be emulated and the ROM, dump your own game. But at the same time, if it is a PC game, we're trying to avoid games that are going to cost people a whole bunch on Steam, for instance.
Yeah, I might wait.
If it's on sale, tell us it's on sale.
Yeah, there's a chance the game will be 20 cents for a while, especially in December. There are some Steam games that I want to do, I think. Platformers exist on Steam too, that's right. There's a lot of cool indie games that I know won't have speedruns just because they're not a popular indie game. So I'll be achieving 2 things at once if I market a game that really deserves more attention and didn't get it because it's on Steam's flood of garbage, just in the mix with a bunch of shovelware. Is a really good indie game here, and I can show it off at the same time as giving people a good speed game. And I know a lot of games like that, so they're not out. I just don't like making a prohibitive price. So if it's not on sale, I probably will avoid that.
Do we prefer a certain amount of time in these speedruns? If it's going to be optimized over the course of 3 weeks, typically, it needs to not be too much longer than an hour, probably.
I don't know if I'd be bothered by it being too long, but if it's more than 3 hours, I don't think we're going to do it.
Yeah, and also, likewise, we probably aren't looking for anything that's too short. I mean, if the speedrun's only 5 minutes long, it's probably a little less interesting as well, so...
Yep. Like, I think Marble Madness is a great game, but I would never want to speedrun it when people optimize it down to 3 minutes or whatever. It's just not... And that one's done as heck, and there's a lot of games that feel like they have a lot of content, like Chip and Dale, that are 5 minutes long as well. They just are over. Contra 3, 10 minutes. Like, it's just too short.
If you've got a 2-hour recommendation, give it to us. We can make the call if you can't make the call. Anything that's way too long or way too short, you can toss out. But if you're not sure whether or not we would think it's too long, submit it anyway. Worst thing that happens is we look at it and say it's too long.
I think 1 to 2 hours is what I would consider long, and anything longer than that is really pushing it. Like Link to the Past in 90 minutes is pretty good, pretty fun, and I wouldn't mind watching something like that if it were interesting the whole time, like Link to the Past is. I think you'll have a hard time finding a game like longer than that I'll think is okay, though. We're definitely not doing RPGs as a whole just because they're too long, but I feel like anything we can skillfully optimize is on the list.
Yeah, I got my eyes open for some good action RPGs or puzzle games to try to throw in here. Because I do want to try to get away from just being pure platforming. I think
puzzle games are a lot of fun to optimize too.
Let us know if you find anything.
I definitely have a lot of puzzle game ideas.
For sure.
I think that's it. So if you want to compete, just jump on in there, and don't forget to upload your world record run to speedrun.com. I've had people not submit to there because they thought they were going to get a better run. Well, that's really not how it works. Go ahead and submit it. If you get a better run, then upload the new one too. But like, even the world record run wasn't uploaded right away because the person wasn't sure if they should upload it because they wanted to do a better run. Well, you just upload it. And if you get a better run, then whatever, we'll take it later. I mean, that is moderated, so somebody will watch it and say, yep, and then approve it, and it'll be on there, especially a world record run. But that board is empty, and I know people can... I mean, we just saw 4 people get a pretty good performance in that. So that is an empty board, considering that that's the way it is. There's only 3 people up there, and one of them's me. Let's get a new list. Definitely want to do that, just so we can see what the time is, but also learn strats by watching those. And I am going to give out prizes for 2nd and 3rd as well, this time and every other time, if that invokes any interest in you. Currently, the 3rd place on the board is free. Like, you just upload a run, you'll probably be there. It's really easy to get right now because no one's uploading any runs. That's what I'm going to use to determine who the winner is. Speedrun.com listing, probably. Unless I get notified of something that's not up there for some reason, I'll be able to look at that list. That's why we have a whole day of time. That's why I'm stopping at Saturday midnight instead of Sunday, like an hour before the show. No, we're doing it Saturday at midnight is when we're cutting it off. So 6 days, 1 hour, 28 minutes left. Get working.
Yep. So 1 week from last night at midnight is when you got to have it in by midnight Eastern, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, any last thoughts?
Good luck, everybody. On Keith Courage. There's his box art. It's beautiful. There it is.
Keith is a good boy.
Take it easy, everybody. See you later. There's some ominous music from Metal Gear Solid for you on the way out.